Sam Levinson. Bro, we gave you one job. One job. You couldn't even do that
So my lyrics been a long time waiting for you. And then you push me away. Painkillers for breakfast. I ain't feeling the day. I'm fucking geeked up. But I tell her
Man, y'all had to miss True Crime Monday for this to create this video. And I've been working on this video like for a minute. Like a minute. And I mean to be honest, like to be truly 100% honest, this whole episode was a true crime. It was a crime how this was done. A tragedy, bro. Just
Tragic.
So like basically today what we're gonna do is break down and kind of react to what happened in this episode. You know, kind of just do the whole thing and do a recap. But then I'm gonna insert some of my own personal thoughts a little bit in this episode, but we're gonna go in it together. I hope you guys enjoy it. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the subscribe, hit that notification bell so you know every time I post. Blogs coming soon, all that great shit. Let's get into this episode. All right, so we open up the episode. We got Fez getting ready for Lexie's play. We got Faye in the kitchen looking really weird. And then you got Ash in the living room with the dude who got his nose busted up looking crooked as hell sitting on the couch. Ash is looking at the dude with the crooked nose like real suspicious as hell, because if we remember in the last episode, the dude with the crooked nose, I'm gonna call him Twizzler, he whispered something to Faye and Ash saw him do that. And so he didn't like that shit. So he went and he grabbed a knife and he tucked that shit underneath his sleeve and he came in the living room and he sat on the couch. Cause he a motherfucking G. He a G. Ash does not play when it comes to his brother. So Fez comes into the living room. He's letting everybody know, you know, he finna head out to this long ass play that's still going on for whatever reason. And Twizzler says,
What, you're leaving?
so then everyone looks at his dumb ass, right? Like, what do you mean? Am I leaving? Like, dude, I'm dressed. Like, what do I look like I'm finna do? It's like everybody is confused except for Ash, because Ash knows something is up. Ash already know, like, something is not right in the buttermilk. You know what I'm saying? Something ain't right. So Fez is starting to peep shit, right? He's starting to peep that things ain't going, like, he like, something off. I'm missing something. And Faye's still looking weird as hell, right? She's still looking weird as but she like making it hella obvious that it's something wrong. Like, she making it super obvious that there is something going on. So the dude with the Twizzler nose tells him, you know, they got to talk about something, right? He lets him know, like, hey, I got to talk to you about some shit. So Fez sitting up here looking at him like, the do you want to talk to me about? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do we have to talk about? And so this dude says the dumbest shit I have ever heard in my the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life.
Everything.
So Fez ends up asking him, you know, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? So Twizzler tells him that the cops found Mouse's body. Now, for those who don't know who Mouse is or might not watch the series or whatever, or may have forgotten, Mouse is the dude that Ash ninja'd with a hammer. I'm talking about he in Matrix jumps off the couch and whacks this dude over the head with a hammer. That's who Mouse is. So Twizzler is telling him, like, hey, cops found his body. We got to figure out what to do. See, but here's the part that f***ed me up about the whole thing, right? It's like, bro, I ain't seen you in a minute. Like, we ain't talked, we ain't communicated since you dropped the old girl off from the hotel. And, you know, we haven't really talked that much. You stopped by for like a second and that was it, you know, to check up on old girl. Why you bringing this dude body up randomly? Like, what? Like, nah, bro. Nah, something off. You off. Game recognized game. You feel me?
Game recognized game, and you looking kinda unfamiliar right now.
So Ash is just sitting on the couch. He just peeping shit, right? He just peeping what's going on, but he ain't really saying nothing, but he knowing something off, right? So once he says this, everybody looking shocked or whatever. And as a way to create a distraction, Faye dropped her glass that she was drinking out of on the ground. And when she drops it on the ground, it kind of catches everybody's attention. And so Fez looks, and as she's looking at Fez and Fez is looking at her, she's like telling him to be quiet, like, don't say nothing, right? She's trying to tell him, like, you know, he being recorded, like, don't say nothing, they listening to you, right? So he catches that tea. Good shit on Faye. That's some good shit, bro. You coming in clutch. So Twizzler asks him, you know, if he heard what he said. And so Faye kind of just jumps in and is like, oh, you talking about, like, Mouse, you know, that the lady killed, that the, what's her name? The lady in the apartment with, like, kind of weird looking lady. You know, she's like, hey, you know, Faye's just trying to place the blame on the lady that they buy drugs from. You know, they connect. And so her and Twizzler start going back and forth about how he didn't say that. And Faye is like, oh yeah, yes you did. You did say that she did it or whatever. So at this point, Fez is like done. He is done. He's like, dude, you need to go. I'm not fucking with this shit. You need to be out.
The door.
Twizzler knows is like, hey, we got to come up with something to say to the cops. Like, I can't just leave without us coming up with something to say. And so he's like, bro, you got to go. Like, you got to dip because I'm done with you. Like, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk to you, none of that. And so before Fez could really say anything else, Ash jumps up out of nowhere. And Fez, knowing his brother, is just like, no. But before he can get to that last no, Ashtray, bro, he digs that knife into dude's neck. He digs it in there. And it was done. Dude is bleeding out at this point. And so Fez, obviously shook by what his brother just did. He drops the roses he had for Lexie in his hand. And that's when we switch to a scene of Lexie dropping, roses on stage. So then out of nowhere, we jump back to Fez's house. And at this point, Fez is holding down Twizzler's mouth, keeping him from screaming and essentially suffocating him on his own blood. And he tells Ash to be quiet because he knows that the cops are listening to him. And so Fez once dude is dead, he takes the phone and he drops it in a cup full of soda, I'm assuming, or some shit. That's pretty much what happens. So we cut to a past scene of Fez and Lexie kind of just on the phone, chopping it up, talking about how Fez just wants to live, a normal life. Considering, that the life that was given to him, it wasn't normal. You got a grandma like he had and everything like that. So his life didn't turn out how he wanted it. So essentially, he just kind of tells Lexie how he just wants to live this normal, life, just on a farm, animals, the whole nine, the family, kids. And she's like, I can't see you like that. Like, I can't see you living on a farm. Like, can anybody imagine Fez living on a farm? Like, honestly. And he's like, I want some Little House on the Prairie type stuff. And she's like, what's that? And he's like, you ain't never heard of Little House on the Prairie? Like, ever? And so he puts her on a Little House on the Prairie. And so, like, throughout the rest of the scene, she's, like, kind of watching clips of, Little House on the Prairie. And so Lexie goes off and she starts telling this real detailed plan of how she wants to have her kids between 30 and, like, 58 or something like that. And in between that time, she wants to be able to raise her kids. After 58, she'll still have 32 years to herself to be free. Bro, Lexie is just so OCD and like pinpoint, I want everything done like this. It's weird. And really at the end of the scene, they just kind of really finish getting to know each other. And that's pretty much how that scene pretty much goes. They just cupcaking and stuff or whatever. That's pretty much it. So now we jump in again. I don't know what is with Euphoria and doing these random ass jump scenes. So we jump back to Fez's house where he's starting to realize, like, oh shit, like he's not gonna have this life he talked to Lexie about. Like, his life is literally just changed with the decision his brother made to kill Twizzler. We jump again to Lexie's play where she's looking for Fez at this point. Like, she's checking her phone, trying to figure out if he texts her back or whatever, because he let her know he was on the way, but he never showed up. So that's kind of where we are right now. So then we cut to the scene of Cassie in the window, blowing her hot ass breath in this window, making it look like a stripper's clear ass heels after sweating on the pole. She's just like staring at Lexie's play. Like, she is staring super hard, like pissed off. Because at this point, Nate has walked out on her. He was embarrassed by the scene she put on. And so he's walked out and broken up with her. And so she is just seething. She is seething. So as she's fogging up this door, she's like breathing super hard. And like, I'm telling y'all, she finna turn Super Saiyan. I'm talking about some Kamehameha type stuff. She finna turn real Goku Super Saiyan type shit. Like, I promise you, I feel like she finna Goku her sister off the stage. Like, I'm pretty sure that's what's finna happen. And Rue was just kind of sitting there. She like kind of like turns around and she's like sitting there and she's like, right? So once Cassie has finally turned Super Saiyan, she starts storming down the aisle of this play and she's like storming towards the stage and everybody's like starting to turn around and look at her like she crazy. Rue is turning around, like the whole nine. She's just walking on this stage. And so as she's going, her mom turns around. She's like, oh my God, like, oh my goodness, she's finna go flip this stage over because she is I'm talking about sis is mad. Them heels gonna be flats by the time she gets to that stage. I'm telling you. So she gets on the stage and she starts like embarrassing her sister, like saying a lot of shit that would embarrass her sister. Really, she just embarrassing herself at this point, right? Because nobody really knew this was a true story. They just thought she made up a play. So she like starts calling all the actors like knockoffs of them, and her mom is like over here trying to get her attention to like try to stop her from embarrassing herself on stage, right? So everybody is sitting here in a state of shock. Rue is like, what the like, everybody's just like, what is going on? So some dude who looks like a Backstreet Boy is just sitting here like, what the heck is going on? Like, is this a part of the play? Like, he's like screaming out like, is this a part of the play or whatever? And so like in a sarcastic way, she turns around to Lexie and is like, you know, is this a part of the play? Like, is this a part of the play? And Lexie's just like telling her, please stop, just please stop, just stop. Because like I said, at this point, she's just really embarrassing herself. Like, you looking stupid by doing all of this. Like, I don't get you. So like at this point, everybody is confused, just random ass girl just getting on stage, like her random ass sister just coming up on stage, and everybody's confused. So her mom decides to come up on stage and starts deflecting, saying that all of this was a part of the play. Like, she's really deflecting hard for Lexie so that, you know, she could try to save face. Cassie is just going on about how Lexie has just never lived and she's just mad that everybody else has lived, and she's made this play to judge everybody in her life. Like, this was a way for her to judge everybody in her life. So after a lot of more back and forth and Cassie embarrassing herself in true Cassie fashion, she turns to Lexie and says, hey, is this the part where, you know, she takes Nate from Maddy, or, you know, whatever the character's name's in the play? She's like, is this that part? And so Maddy at this point is obviously annoyed by Cassie. And she was like, it's about to be. So now at this point, everybody's just like, what? Like, what happened? What happened? Like, that really happened? And so Cassie is like, oh no, like they weren't together when it happened. Like, it's not like that. And so Maddy she calls her a female part. I'm not gonna say it on here because, you know, YouTube, it's a female part. And the crowd just starts instigating. Like, they just like, oh. And again, in true Cassie fashion, she just starts boohoo crying, as Cassie does all season. And Lexie just runs off stage. So the actor that's playing Cassie's like just jumps on the stage, and she's like riding his horse and like making moaning noises. It's real awkward. Like, real awkward when you watch it. Like, watch. So then Cassie, of course, responds like, so Cassie has had enough at this point, and so she jumps back on stage and they start fighting. And then as they're fighting, Maddy has had enough, and it's like, this gotta go. Like, she gotta be dealt with. And so Maddy dealt with that. She stormed up on that stage, and as she storms up on stage, Cassie starts, you know, she noticed she's coming on stage, and she starts running. She starts running. No, don't go nowhere. You had all this big tough talk for the girl who was acting as you. But when Maddy come on stage, now you want to run. Now you want to run in circles and scream and holler and all this other stuff. No, keep that same energy, love. Keep that same energy. And man, when I tell you Maddy slapped the dog mess out of that girl, boy, she gave her to slap her around the world. You heard what I'm saying? She gave her that slizzap. I'm talking about, she said, wop, 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 wop. Boy, I felt that slap through the TV. And so Cassie takes off running, and they're just like fighting. Kat is just like running after Maddy, like trying to get her to stop. The girl with the vape is like running after them. And so they run off the stage down into the hallway. And as they're running through the hallway, Cassie's like running down the stairs. And as she's running down the stairs, she runs into a brick wall. And when she runs into this big wall, she kind of like grabs it. Boy, Maddy was on that ass. She grabbed her head and slammed it on that wall. Look, I don't never want to fight a Maddy in my life, okay? I'ma lose. I know it. I'ma walk away with a black eye, broken nose. I'ma look like Twizzler. You know what I'm saying? Before he died. It was just a mess. So the mom is back on the stage. She's trying to deflect and say, you know, this was all in the script and everything. And she's telling them to close curtains. Just close curtains. So randomly, you know, while all this shit is going on, randomly Rue looks back at Elliot, and Elliot is sitting there not amused by what is going on. He's just kind of like, I'm just here. I'm just here. And as they're doing this, the scene jumps, because why the fuck not? this scene jumps. They jump to this scene where Rue goes to Elliot's place and he's just apologizing. And, they kind of made up. She was thanking him for saving his life. And she was kind of like telling him, had you not done that, maybe she wouldn't be alive, kind of stuff. And so then he busts out in this random Justin Bieber song. He's just breaking down his feelings about his guitar, but really it's a song kind of about her. Like, kind of, if you kind of listen to it, it's really about Rue. But he's singing about his guitar. He kind of stops singing and he's telling her, like, it's not finished. And then he does something random and asks her truth or dare. And Rue is like, truth. And if you know the story, Rue, Jules, and Elliot used to play truth or dare all the time. And they used to do, like, polyamorous stuff where they be kissing on each other and, doing that type of stuff. And when he asks her about, truth or dare, she says truth. And he asks if they could be friends. And Rue is just kind of like, being friends with him isn't really good for her. But they kind of just hugged it out and just became, like, I guess, friends again. Because you don't really ever see them talking again after that. They just kind of became friends. And she's just, like, staring at him in his theater. So that's, yeah, it was weird, random. And so, like, it just kind of cuts back to Rue staring at him in the theater. And I'm gonna be real with y'all, and tell me if I'm wrong. I really don't care about this. Like, I don't care about her making up with Elliot or Jules, to be honest. I don't care. I don't. I think I speak for all of us when we really just want to know what's going down at Fez's house, right? Right. We really just want to know what's going down over there. So we cut back to Lexie's stage manager, and she's looking for Lexie everywhere. She finally finds Lexie in this random place, and she tells everybody that she found her. And she has kind of like that Michelet voice going on. If you know what I'm talking about, watch.
The concern is that I'm not understanding.
So, like, you know what I'm talking about. She kind of sounds like Michelet. And so she finds her and she basically tells her, don't worry about it. I've told everybody this is a part of the play. She's told all the actors, like, this was all planned. And she kind of just like gives Lexie a pep talk to tell her, keep going. And sometimes art is dangerous, because her thing started a riot. It started a fight. So she's like, sometimes art is just that way and you should just keep going. So Lexie gets up and she finds her boost of energy and she goes downstairs where all the actors are hiding and they're just kind of looking at her while she's looking at him. And while this is going on, Rue is up there and she just starts chanting Lexie, and it gets the whole theater chanting her name, and she's like, let's do this. And so she tells everybody to get ready and to get back on stage. And so Lexie goes back out to the theater and she's telling everybody, like, this wasn't a part of the play. And sometimes, things happen and it wasn't expected. So then the next part of the play, she dedicates to Fez. And she's like, a friend told me, what did she say? She said a friend told her that sometimes people need to get their feelings hurt. And so once she said that, she dedicated the next part of the play to Fez. And that's, yeah. So now we're finally back at Fez's house where Twizzler is dead on the couch. And Ash is freaking out of nowhere. Nobody. Fez comes over and punches the hell out of Ash. I'm talking about, my jaw went when he did that. You know what I'm saying? I know that hurt. I know it hurt. Tragic. But he told him he had to do this because, in my opinion, I think he wanted to make it look like self-defense, and that Fez was protecting his brother from Twizzler. Like, to me, that's what it was. I'm not really sure if that's how the story was supposed to go, but that's how I'm taking it. So at this point, he's telling Ash, you got to get out of here. I can't let you go down for murder because, they'll charge them both, but Fez will get the most time. So he's like, just get out of here, go out there and surrender, and I'll take the heat. Ash is a rotted out. We all know Ash is a rotted out, so he is not trying to hear anything that Fez is trying to tell him. So he takes the knife from Ash, wipes his fingerprints off, and as he's wiping his fingerprints off, he's telling Ash to go wash his hands, clean himself up so he doesn't look guilty. He's taking the knife, he's wiping off Ash's fingerprints and puts his own on it so that Ash couldn't be implicated. But what he didn't know is that Ash, instead of going to wash his hands, he goes to the laundry room and he starts loading up. He starts getting all his weapons and he starts loading them up. Ash is getting himself loaded into the bathroom, and as he's going into the bathroom with his weapons, Fez comes out of nowhere and it's like, Ash, what are you doing? Don't do this. Don't do this. And Ash is not trying to hear it, right? And so they cut to a scene of Faye in the entryway of the house, and she's like starting to hear the police chatter coming through the door. And so she's just like standing there and staring at the door and backing up. And as she's doing this, Fez is like beating on the door. Fez is like trying to convince Ash to give him the guns. Like, don't do this. You don't have to do this. You don't have to go out like this. Like, don't do this. Just go out there and surrender. And Ash is not hearing it. He is not hearing it. Right? All of a sudden, Fez hears the police closing in, and he's like, and he's like telling Ash, like, you got to give me the gun. So then we jump to a scene with Nate. And Nate is driving his truck, speeding down the freeway as Nate does. And he's filling up this revolver. For what reason, I don't know. And he's obviously pissed off about the play. So he's like filling up this revolver and drinking beer, and it's like flying. So then we cut back to Fez's house. And at Fez's house, he's like telling Ash, you know, give me the guns, give me the guns. And as he's hearing the police come closer, he runs up to try to take the gun and stuff from Ash, and Ash hits him with the butt of the gun, kind of knocks him to the ground, and like slams the door shut and locks himself in the bathroom. Then we cut back to the scene of Nate in his car, still loading his revolver. Mind you, there's only 6 bullets that go in this revolver. I don't understand why we're still loading it, but he's drinking his beer and loading his gun. And then we cut back to Fez's house. And as we cut back to Fez's house, we're back in the entryway with Faye, and she's starting to hear the police drilling through the door, like, you know, basically getting ready to bust in. They're moving at turtle speed. Like, I don't know how far away they were, but they are moving super slow getting into this house. And then we cut back to Nate. Like, can we just stop jumping scenes? Please, Euphoria. If you don't do anything else next season, stop jumping scenes. It's kind of confusing to follow after a while. Like, please, just stop. Don't do this. It's not worth it. So we cut back to the scene with Nate. He's walking up to this warehouse or whatever. He gets out, he puts the gun in his pocket, and he walks into this building. So as he's walking into this building, it's where his dad is living at. And his dad is in here with a bunch of strangers, and they look young as hell except for one. And Nate walks up to his dad and gives his dad a hug, and everybody's like, oh, you know, this is your son. And he's like, yeah. And so Nate makes himself a drink. They said something about having something in common. And Nate is like, you know, the one thing we have in common is we like hurting other people. They get off on hurting other people. And so like Nate's dad is like asking him, like, you know, you want to go upstairs? You know, we can go upstairs alone and we can talk about it. And Nate is like, nah. So then he asks his dad if he's happy, and his dad is like, you know, I'm getting there. He's become, you know, he's trying to become happy. At first he said yes, and then he says like he's trying to get there. And Nate is like, you know, that's unfair. Like, you just come and ruin our lives, and then you just get to go off and be happy. Like, how is that fair? I kind of get it. So his dad is sitting here, he's like pleading his case. He's like, you know, I know I made a lot of mistakes in his life. And Nate is like, you know, did I ever tell you the story about how he imagined his dad doing to him what he did to those young people on the video? And he's like, did I ever tell you that? And everybody's just like, you know, it's awkward. And so Cal tells everybody to leave. You know, it's time for everybody to go. So everybody kind of like dredges up and tells him good luck, and then they leave out. So then Nate goes on this monologue about how his dad, all he ever wanted to do was protect his dad. All he ever did his whole life was protect his father, and all he did was hate him for it. You know, all Cal did was hate him for trying to protect him. And he was like, you know, Cal starts apologizing, like, you know, I'm so sorry. I know that's what you're trying to do. You know, I didn't mean to do that to you. And he's just like trying to explain himself and tell him that the biggest mistake he's ever made was not loving him the way that he was supposed to, in so many words. Nate kind of like steps back and he's like, you know, I don't want your apologies. I want revenge. And so he pulls out this revolver. So we're all like, oh snap, it's finna go down. Nate is finna take his daddy out. We all kind of saw this coming. But then all he does is just take the revolver and puts it in another pocket and pulls out a USB. Boy, what? You made us do all that build up for you to do that? Boy, what? So then he has his USB. And so his dad is like, you know, what is this? And he's like, everything. And so Cal is like, what do you mean everything? And so all of a sudden, all you hear is the cops in the background starting to come in. And Cal is just like pleading with him, like, you know, Nate, don't do this, don't do this. So essentially Nate called the cops and told them everything about his dad, and he gave him the USB. And so this just kind of this moment of silence, and Nate starts walking to the door and he lets in the chief and tells him that he's in there. And then he has his dad arrested. That was that scene. So now we're back at Fez's place and we're still at Fez, still staring at the door, still waiting for these cops to come in because they still ain't came in yet. But they finally bust in and they're telling everybody on the ground. They threw they threw gas in the room, you know, to try to make everybody disoriented. And Fez is still banging on the door, begging for Ash to come out. This whole scene was so freaking crazy and unnecessary because, like, as they're busting through the door, you have more cops breaking the windows. What was your purpose for breaking the windows? That's the part I don't understand. Everybody could have just came through the door. Why did you break the windows? What was the point? You know? And so I'm just sitting here dumbfounded, like, stuck on the fact that they're breaking in these windows. I don't get it. Fez is still trying to get Ash out the bathroom, but Ash is not listening. He is tucked in and ready to go, loaded up, point blank, ready to go out, Cleo style. So the cops come in and they're telling everybody, you know, get down on the ground, put your hands above your head, da 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 da. And so they walk into the living room, and in the living room is where Twizzler is laying dead, and they're telling him to put his hands up, and he's not moving for obvious reasons. And so they go around the couch and they see that he's no longer alive. I don't know what could have possibly told him that, you know, the fact that he was moving, the fact there was a lot of blood, or the fact that he was just staring in his face. But they checked his pulse and he wasn't alive. As they're doing this, Ash is getting locked and loaded. So these cops come around the corner and they're telling Fez, you know, to drop his knife and walk backwards. And Fez is like pleading with them, please don't shoot, please don't shoot. There's a kid in the bathroom, please don't shoot, please don't shoot. And these cops are just like yelling, put your hands above your head, drop the knife, drop the knife, drop the knife. And so he's like pleading, trying to get them to not shoot his brother. Y'all, when I tell y'all this scene was just breaking my heart, Angus, you deserve an Oscar for this entire scene. It is just breaking. It is breaking me. Like, I am on the verge of tears sitting in my car watching this the first time before I had to watch it again to make this video. But puts me in my feels, man. So, like, he drops the knife and he starts backing up. And like I said, he's yelling, telling him that there's a kid in the room. So all of a sudden, one of the cops throw another canister on the ground. And once Ash hears this, he just starts spraying. He can't see what's on the other side of the door. In the midst of him spraying, he shoots his brother in the stomach. Oh my God. Fez is going down. He's just still screaming his brother's name. And as he's screaming his name, the cops start shooting back. And so, you know, Ash is like ducking, you know, trying not to get hit by the bullet. Now, you do see in the scene he has blood. I'm not sure if he actually got shot, but there are bullets just going back and forth, back and forth. Then all of a sudden it gets really quiet. But at this point, the cop takes it upon himself to start walking up to the bathroom. And as he's walking up to this bathroom, he's telling Fez to be quiet. He gets to the bathroom, he opens the door, and he says Ash is down. Because Ash is laid out of the tub, he's on the ground. You know, he looks like he's been shot. Instead of checking to see if he was actually dead, he just kind of glanced and said he's down. And when he turned around and said he's down, Ash rose up like Lazarus in the Bible, honey. Grabbed that rifle, boy, chunked that thing, and he said, bah, took the cop out. So after he does this, he makes eye contact with his brother, realizes his brother is shot, and he's just kind of like dumbfounded, just sitting there. They're looking at each other, and as they're looking at each other, you see this laser coming up Ash's chest, and then it goes all the way up to Ash's forehead. And y'all, when I tell y'all, my heart is breaking. It is breaking. I loved Ash since the first time he appeared on the episode. So he comes up, and the camera switches back to Fez, who's like watching all this going on. All of a sudden, you hear this gunshot and a thud. Ash is dead. I just need a moment. It's too soon to talk about this. I just need a moment. Just give me a second. Alexa, play Lambert and Zendaya. I'm tired, because I am tired. So at this point, they kind of get Fez and they yank him up and they arrest him, you know. And I'm sitting here thinking the whole time, like, where's the grandma? Where's the grandma? So like at the scene where the police is like walking up to the door where Ash is, they kind of pan to where the grandma is, and she is knocked out. She's in a coma. Like, she is out, right? And I'm like, y'all just doing all this? Y'all could have hit Meemaw in her head or some stuff. Y'all just spraying bullets and could have hit Meemaw. What is wrong with you? I need another moment. So we pan back to Rue, and we're in the past where Rue is at her dad's memorial service, and she's reading her speech for the umpteenth time in this season. I don't understand why we have to keep listening to it. We get it. She sees him when he closes his eyes, and she's sad. I understand. I sympathize. You know, so they're saying it, but I get why they put it in there, because the beginning of the speech that they play about how she watched him die from the hallway and kind of befitting to what happened between Fez and Ash. And I get it. I understand. But I just don't want to hear it again. Like, we're already going through a moment with Ash being gone, but like, we don't got to do this again. So that they're going through this part, and we move to a scene where Lexie is in the bed and her mom kind of wakes her up and tells her it's her father, and they go down to the hospital where he's in the bed linked up to all these wires and stuff, all beat up. And she looks back at Cassie and she goes to hug her. And so like, it flips to a scene where Lexie goes back to the hospital and she's at Rue's bedside at this point, because this is when Rue overdosed. Rue's mom gets up and hugs her. So they have this little panning scene of her hugging Lexie and Rue's mom hugging her. So like, that's what's going on. Switch to a scene where we have Cassie and Lexie's mom holding Lexie and kind of just like comforting her and telling her, you know, she's had to take care of everybody her whole life, you know, and they just kind of have a moment, and that's pretty much where that conversation ends. They're showing this scene to us as it's happening in real life, but then it switches to the play where they're showing the scene in the play. And so it's like making everybody super emotional. Everybody's getting, you know, teary-eyed and everything, because it pulls on your feels. It goes back to where Rue is giving her speech, and then it flips to from Rue giving the speech to the actor that's playing Rue giving the speech. And like I said, everybody's just super emotional, and really it just kind of gives an in-depth look as to why Rue is the way she is. Because, you know, Rue doesn't really talk about her dad much to people, so it kind of opens people's eyes, like Jules and Elliot and people like that. It kind of opens their eyes to it. So that's pretty much that. So then we finally switch to another scene, because as if my brain can handle anything else, we switch to another scene where it's present time or future. Not really sure at this point, where I don't know if the play is present and Rue talking to Lexie is future or what. I don't know. But either way, we're in the scene in the future after the play where Rue is talking to Lexie and she's telling her how good her play was, and, you know, how she's glad she's seen it and that she wasn't mad about it, you know. And then she asks her if she could come over, and she says yes. And then we switch back to another scene where Rue is just giving her speech, and she kind of like walks to the window, and as she's at the window, she's kind of like peering out, I'm assuming thinking about everything that's going on. And you know, she sees her friends outside, so she goes and sits outside. And as they're sitting outside, they're talking about how high school is just like middle school, but more dramatic. And then they start talking about how the boys are nice and whatever. And so then they ask Rue if she's okay. She's like, you know, yeah, you know, I'm okay. I mean, as okay as she can be. Her dad died. Like, what? Lexie and Cassie's mom out of nowhere thought it would be a good idea to come outside and take their picture. Why would you do that? And even Lexie was like, you know, Mom, this isn't a good time. Nobody wants to remember this moment. And she's like, no, let's take the picture. So she takes their picture. And so Lexie shows the actual picture on the screen in the play. And that's how that scene ends. So then we switch back to present time, because we're freaking time traveling. Rue is now at Lexie's house, and she's telling her how good the play was again, and she's letting her know, you know, like, it kind of gave her an opportunity to look at her life, which she's never done before. It was good for her to see it, but she would start also explaining to Lexie, like, how she was glad that Lexie was able to take her trauma and turn it into something beautiful, and how she don't know how to get to that point, like how to make her trauma into something good. And they just kind of start talking about that. And then they start talking about their fathers, and, you know, how, and about their relationships with their dad and how it's complicated and how Rue is angry. You know, they just have a good cry and they hug it out. And then it switches back to the play where they're actually hugging and crying. And then the curtains close. Bam, play is finally done. After 15 episodes of watching this play, it's finally done. Or what felt like 15 episodes. The play is done. Again, another dramatic scene. I understand, you know, trying to wrap out and close out the play, but I really just want to know what's going on at Fez's house. That's really all I care about. I mean, I know what's going on, but I just want to check on Fez. That is what my brain is on. Like, I just want to check on Fez. That's all I want to know. So, of course, we don't hear anything else about Fez at this point. So, we switch to a scene of all the girls in the bathroom. By all the girls, I mean Cassie, Kat, the girl who vapes too much, and Maddy are all in the bathroom, and they're just kind of looking at each other like, you know, We really just fought. You know, that kind of feeling after you just got into a fight. Everybody's just like looking at each other like whatever. And so Cassie blurts out, she said, you know what's funny? Like, Nate broke up with me right before, you know, before I even stormed on stage. Everybody's just like looking at her, and Maddie's just like, girl, this is only the beginning. Like, she knows all that Nate has put her through, and so she's like telling her that this is only the beginning. And then she just walks away. Like, what else could you say? So that was pretty much it. And Cassie standing there, sitting there looking like a deer caught in headlights. She's just like, and that's how she's looking. And so then we flip to another scene. We're back in the theater, and like everybody's clapping, and you know, everybody's just like hooping and hollering over how good the play was. And Rue was just kind of sitting there almost like in a reflective state, like really, you know, it was a really good play to her. And she really got a lot out of it. So Jules comes out of nowhere, and she comes over to where Rue is, and she sits down, and she's kind of just like, you know, I know you're still angry with me, but in Jules fashion, you know, I love and I miss you so much. And Jules does that every time they get into a fight, or she disappears, or she does something weird. She always comes back to Rue, and it's just like, you know, I love you and I miss you. And Rue always falls back into her lap. But this time she didn't. She took that shit on the chin. She kissed on her forehead and walked out without a word. Good job. Because I am done with this roller coaster of Rue and Jules. I'm finished. I don't want to see it anymore. I don't care if they never talk again. I'm tired. Alexa, play Lambert and Zendaya. I'm tired because I'm tired. Okay? I'm over this relationship. She just walks out, and Jules is crying at this point. She just starts boohoo crying. And so as she's walking out, she was reflecting on how she knows that Jules was her first love, at least she thinks she was, and she just kind of wants to leave it at that, talking about how she, you know, remained drug-free for the rest of the school year. And then she kind of reflects, but like she remained drug-free not because she wanted to, but she felt like she had to, kind of thing. Like she needed to be drug-free. And then she just kind of reflects on something Ali told her about how the thought of being a good person is what keeps her being a good person. And then the show ends. That's kind of how it ended. Lord, when I tell you I am tired, I just cannot express that enough. Like my brain, even sitting here making this video, my brain is hurting to the max. But I had to do this for y'all. I had to do this for my people. I had to talk to somebody. Because my cousin had already done her video. If you haven't seen it, it's right here, linked up above. Make sure you check out her video. And again, and then Sam, let me holler at you. You got the audacity to make us wait till 2024 to see what's gonna happen to Fez? Really? Really? I thought we were cooler than that, bro. You done already killed Ash. You shot Fez. And then now you're gonna make us wait till 2024. I can't. Y'all, I'm done with this video. I hope you guys like this. It's my first time doing something like this. I was kind of nervous, but if you made it to the end, make sure you hit that like button. Like I said, more videos, more vlogs, more fun things coming, more episode breakdowns if you want me to. Make sure y'all leave them in the comments or hit me in my DMs on Instagram, which is also linked in the description box below and in the pinned comment. I love y'all. I'll see y'all next video. Peace.